Welcome everyone to Contemporary Issues Sunday School class. Thank you for coming out today for our special guest, Iraq from South Sudan. We are going to hear about Iraq's amazing story and the foundation he runs and all of the education that he oversees in South Sudan. So we are pleased to have Iraq again here. He was here last May, and we're so pleased to have you back, Iraq. But before we start with that, let me introduce myself too. I'm Steve Baska. I'm the leader of the class, and I want to welcome any first-time visitors, including Maureen and Jim. Thanks for being here today. And our usual announcements, Zoomers, nice to have you here. Please mute yourself in the lower left corner of your screen when you're not speaking. And we are another first-time visitor. It's okay. That's okay. Nice to have you here. We're very informal here. Could I ask your name?
Mary Hanson.
Mary, nice to have you here too. Yes. Okay.
I
Did I miss any?
sponsor a child. And
You sponsor a child? Wait, great. Okay. And you too? You're with the Seeds of Sudan organization too.
Yes, my name's Margaret, and I'm like you.
Margaret here too. Yes.
I'm here today.
Several of the folks with Iraq's organization are here. Okay, and we are recording this on YouTube for future playback for folks who cannot be here and want to see what we do. So I'd like to make that announcement. And other announcements, next week, the church next Sunday is having just a 9 o'clock service in recognition of the holiday, but the church will be open until 2 in the afternoon. And so we are going to have Sunday school class. And Ron is going to present on patriotism. What does patriotism today mean for us? Pride in our nation. And I know we are praying this week for the Democrats and the Republicans after the debate and this election year. We pray for both sides that things will be as good as they can be for both sides. I walk the line.
lean to the left.
I probably lean to the left personally, but I try to walk the line in this class, Norman. That's right. Okay. Any other announcements, things going on? Oh, I do also want to recognize a 61st wedding anniversary today for Lowell and Jane Fortune. Right there. That's an accomplishment. You should be proud. Okay, with that, I think that is all we have to cover, and we are so glad to have Iraq here. And will you take questions, comments during your presentation, Iraq? If they're short questions, is that okay?
Yeah.
During your PowerPoint? Okay, good. And so if you have a question or comment, just raise your hand and we'll recognize you. And with that, I want to turn it over to Iraq's entourage, Eileen, and his entourage leader. Thank you, Eileen, for being here, and tell us more about what we're going to hear about today.
Good morning. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to tell you about Seeds of South Sudan. Iraq Garang is our founder, and he was one of the Lost Boys. I don't know how many. Can you just raise your hand if you know about the Lost Boys? Okay, very good. Wow, this is a good showing. And so anyway, he came to the Colorado in 2001 and worked his way through getting an education and everything. And then he was able to start this organization with some friends. And he was one of the few that went back to the refugee camp that he had spent 10 years in. And it started getting kids out to get an education because they're just stuck there. And so we're still doing that. I think we are up to 167. The original goal was 100. And we're still trying to, there's kids out on the table there if you're interested in sponsoring. And we also have college students that have lost some of their sponsors, so they need additional help. So anyway, that's for afterwards. But here, let me, and what do you want me to say?
Could I just say something real quick? That Iraq probably won't mention this, but he has 7 children. in Sudan, and he is also getting his master's degree in biblical studies and plans to be a pastor there. So I just wanted to share that. Additional information.
Thank you, I didn't think of that. So anyway, I think I'll just hand it over to Odog now and we'll tell you about what we're doing.
Well, thank you so much for having us back again. We are so thankful, Steve, for all the communication, and we are so happy to be here this morning with you. Going to talk about Seed of South Sudan, and also I have board members here, friend, and some of the sponsors that show up today here. So there are many of us, and most of them have been to Africa, to Kakuma. They have seen what we are doing. So
Kakuma is a refugee camp. Kakuma is a refugee camp. I don't know if y'all know that, so.
yes, Kakuma is the biggest refugee camp now in Africa, which hosts 218,000, most of them from South Sudan, some from Somalia, from Congo, from Eritrea, all over Africa. It's one of the largest. So I was born in 1982, and war broke out in South Sudan. My village was attacked and many people were killed, including my parents, mom and dad were killed, and I started running with other boys. And I worked for 3 months without food and water, without clothes, shoes, and we eat anything we get along the way. And during that time, some of my friends died because of lack of food, lack of water. Some get sick and were not able to. But I was lucky. God put my cousin, who was 10 years at that time, I was 7, and he was able to, whenever we get any dirty water, he was able to carry some for me, because it was 100 and something degrees hot. So during that time, I can go for 3 days without food and it was okay. But without water, even just for some hours, was very, very difficult. So anyway, we end up in Ethiopia, the country of Ethiopia. And the United Nations came and provided us with food and medicine, and we stayed there for about 18 months. And then another war broke out. It was during the rainy season, so we have to cross rivers. And some of my colleagues get thrown in the rivers. Some were eaten by crocodile. And so we end up in a border town, and we stayed there for a few months, and the United Nations told us to go to Kenya because it was safe, because the war was still going on in Sudan. So we worked for about a year to get to Kenya. It was during rainy season, like I mentioned. We crossed rivers, and I remember one time we were in the water for 2 weeks, like water a year. There were no place to sleep. We climbed trees at night, and there were thousands of mosquitoes that you cannot even close your eye. So after about a year of walking, we came to Kenya in 1982 in a place called Kakuma refugee camp. And we stayed there in Kakuma, and the UN came again and gave us some food and water, but the food was not enough. Maybe what most of you don't know, the United Nations is a big organization that helps many refugees. And you know, now around the world, there are many people that are displaced. So the work of the United Nations is to provide the little they can, because they distribute it all over, the world. So most of the time they give you little so that you don't die, to make sure that every refugee or whatever, if everybody is getting a small fees. So I was there in that camp for almost 10 years. And the only food we could eat is corn and bean. Yes, we eat one meal a day, you are lucky. And for all the year that I've been there, you might think, okay, well, could you get tired of eating that? But it was so little that I always want to eat more, but I couldn't find enough. So we didn't also have any school, so the United Nations was not able at the time, so we get ourselves under the trees. We learn using writing on the dirt using our fingers, 1, 2, ABC, 3, and that was how we learned at the camp. Anyway, lucky enough, in 2000s, the United Nations talked to the U.S. government, and the U.S. government accepted the lost boy come to the United States. And that process began in 2001. And I ended up here in Colorado with other lost boys. There were 8 of us. We live in a 3-bedroom apartment, and life was difficult. It was a new place, and we need to survive. So we look for a job, and we ask people from refugees agencies and churches that help us, to settle in. And that was a long process. And my first job was dishwasher.
Dishwasher
Yes.
in a restaurant?
In a restaurant. It was at the Mark Hotel. It was in downtown at the time. I know the name has changed now several times. And when I was working there every night, I cannot believe the amount of food we throw away. I was shocked.
Shocked.
Yes, I was shocked to see how much we have. And when I go around speaking to high school and middle school and elementary school, I tell them the importance of water, because when we were in a refugee camp in Kakuma, we used to walk for 45 minutes every day to get water.
Walk 45 minutes to get water?
To get water.
And you had to bring it back.
You have to bring it back. Because at the time the UN was, and it was not even clean water. Yeah. So I always tell them, how blessed we are. Anytime we need water, it's here, food, we have all the learning. Anything we want to learn, we have all the books. And, so it's, it is amazing how much we have here, and I thank God that we support, because in Africa, thousands of children, they wake up in the morning, and all, like when I was in Kakuma, we just wake up and go to the UNHCR compound, get to wait until they got the garbage out of the kitchen. And then we have to pick what to eat, and that's what most of the children, some of the children in Africa do every morning. You have to think, where can I eat today? Where can I get food? Where can I get water? So it was a big surprise for me when I get here, and I get job. I used to work 2 jobs. I was going to school. I came here when I was 19. And I was not allowed to go to high school. So I went and studied at a school called Emily Griffiths Opportunity School. So I studied there, and then I enrolled in GED classes, and then I did my GED and went to Denver Community College. And I studied there, and then after 2 years, I got my degree in chemistry. And went to University of Colorado and graduated with a degree in economics. It was an opportunity that if I wasn't here, I would have not got it. So I had the energy for it. Although I have difficulties learning English. But it was a blessing, and how many people came and helped us and show us. Anyway, after I graduated from CU Denver, I went back to the refugee camp. And that was the time we started State of South Sudan when I came back with a group of friends. And I will let Eileen start from here to talk a little bit. She just came back in May with me from Kenya. Eileen, you.
Is there some notes? No.
Anyway, yeah, I went to Kenya, I went to the Roots Academy, I went to Kakuma, and, yeah, anyway, our mission is to educate the students to rebuild to eventually go back to South Sudan, which right now is not very, safe. But we're still hoping that in a couple of years we can do that. And that I was, interviewing, in Kakuma, we interviewed over 60 new kids that we're trying to get sponsors for so that they can come out of the camp too and start their education. And so when they first come out, they go to Roots Academy, which is a good boarding school in Nakuru, Kenya. So, so that's some of our students. I don't know which ones those are. I was gonna ask you yesterday if you know who those are, but anyway, the students are so amazing. They work really hard, they study, they help each other. And they're very committed to studying. I know one girl that, they have to take these tests in 8th grade and 12th grade. And, she only sleeps 3 hours a night because she studies so much. So they are very committed to learning and to improving their lives and eventually going back to South Sudan and rebuilding South Sudan. Okay, so recently, the largest freshman class ever in January, Seeds enrolled the largest number of students. And three of the freshmen were able to graduate from Kakuma and still do well because they have to take this 8th grade test that I was mentioning. So they did well enough that they were able to go to high school, because it depends what school what your grade was, what your score was to what high school you could go to.
Quick question, if I could. So this is a school funded by the Seeds of South Sudan, and have teachers there that you all pay also, or volunteers? And how widespread is education other than in your Seeds of Sudan school? Do most other Sudanese kids go to elementary school or a high school, or is this very unusual?
Well, the school is run by, it's by Roots Academy. They have their own teachers. So we do fund it for them to go there. That's K-8. And it's a boarding school. So it's a very reputable boarding school in Kenya.
We don't own it though.
You
No,
don't
that's what
own-
No.
Seeds of South Sudan doesn't own
No,
that school.
no,
Okay.
it's owned by an Indian family
Okay,
that Iraq met 20 years ago and has a good relationship. There's honesty and integrity at this school.
okay.
And so as a sponsor, my money for my 4th grade boy goes for his uniforms, his education
And room and board.
and room and board.
Okay, that helps us understand. Thank you.
It's also one of the top rated K through 8 schools in Kenya.
Okay. So how common is it for kids all across Sudan who are not sponsored? Are they going to school also, or is that unusual?
Well, our students are refugees from South Sudan, but they're in Kenya.
In Kenya, okay.
So, I can't speak to the South Sudanese students that are in South Sudan, but these kids have come because of war and conflict where they live, so they had to leave and they're in Kenya.
Okay.
There are schools at the refugee camp. However, they are very poor schools. It's difficult because these people do not know, the kids do not know English. They do not know, Kiswahili. They've got to learn 3 different languages in order to even get out of the camp in order to go to the school for Roots Academy. So they really work hard. And it is a real blessing when they have an opportunity to be able to be funded enough to get out of the camp and go to Roots Academy.
Classes in Kakuma are typically 100 kids. There's no books, maybe a chalkboard. So it's a very
Railroad.
rudimentary education. Nonetheless, as we said, a few kids managed to make it through 8th grade and qualified to get into 9th grade when they took the test in Kenya.
And part of that is because the kids from Seeds of South Sudan, when they graduate, they go back to Kakuma refugee camp and teach. Even though they're not teachers, they know at least the English and they can start to teach those that are in the camp. They give back.
Yeah, I just wonder what percentage of those students are girls?
She said, what percentage are girls of
The,
the students?
yeah, the overall percentage, I believe, is 35 to 40% now. And it's interesting, we look at the statistics. The older students that are now in college, the ratio was maybe 3 boys to 1 girl. And as we get younger and younger kids, the ratio is becoming more even. So we're like 60% boys and 40% girls in the younger students, and we're working our way towards 50-50. So we emphasize both genders very much so.
Good news.
Well, every year we have a team, board members and volunteers that go to Kenya. And was it about a year ago, we have a Jill who, maybe Jill could speak to what she does better than I do.
Sure, thank you.
We were there in September of 22 and did a number of workshops and things, but one of the highlights was checking all of the kids from a health standpoint. When they come out of Kakuma, they get a very cursory medical exam to see if there's any really serious conditions that need to be treated before they go into school, but they've never really have had a preventive checkup at all. So this was the first for many of them.
I was so blessed to be able to go with a team that was dynamite. I'll tell you, Mary was with us, Jerry Lou was with us, and we had a really great team. And so we divided up all of the activities to do our health screening. And Mary did the blood pressure and the pulse ox and temp. We had Tom Pond, I don't know if you're aware of him, and his wife, and their nephew who is just graduating, Johnny, who just graduated from high school, and he's tall, you know, but he had to reach up really high to measure the height and weight of these children. And then Jerry Lou did the colorblind screening and Peggy did the vision screening. And you know, I was monitoring them. I listened to their heart sounds, their lung sounds, made sure their abdomen nose nice and flat, because worms is a problem there. And when we did the BMI, the height to weight, most of the kids there are way underweight for their age and their height. And so we were able to buy medication for them in order to be dewormed. There were ringworm we had for treatment. And one of the problems that we also noticed was there were 8 people who had heart murmurs. Now, young kids shouldn't have heart murmurs. I mean, we don't see it here in the US at all, but these kids have had malaria so many times and it affects their heart. And you know, malaria can be treated so easily with 3 little pills that cost less than $10, but they don't have the opportunity to get these things. And that's why we really need help to be able to give these children the opportunity to get healthy. And then we came to the vision part, and, you know, not any of them had glasses. Now, out of 87 children, if you were to walk into a school here in the US, you know somebody's gonna have glasses. Well, we found 37 needed some kind of eye treatment, and one of them had glaucoma. And if it had gone unnoticed, she would have been blind in 6 to 8 months. So, you know, we were really lucky to be able to find this. And it's just a simple health exam. You know, the whole team worked together to make it happen, and I really feel blessed we had the opportunity to do so. Yes.
How did the program, how was it affected by the COVID epidemic?
Oh, the school, you know, was closed. They all had to be, I should let Rock talk about that, actually. As far as the healthcare part of it, though, we were able to, I'll get back to your question. We were able to, one of the students that we actually sponsor, Bior, is taking pharmacy classes. And so we went to the pharmacy and we asked for the medications that we felt we needed. And he came up and he said, oh my, it's gonna cost a fortune. So I asked, how much is it gonna be? And he said, 500 Kenya shillings. Well, that's less than $10. So it's like, what a blessing to be able to get this. But about the COVID, I'm gonna let Arak talk about that. Thank you.
Well, during COVID, like year, the school were affected in Kenya, and that our kids were at home for about, I think for about 5 months. That was difficult to have all these teenagers and kids at home, and it was difficult, but we were lucky. We got supported by our donors to feed the kid at home and support us. So it was difficult, but we got lucky. Nobody gets sick. God protected us.
And talk about home base.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
So when the kids are off school on vacation or holiday, they stay at a place called home base, and it's a big compound, I guess. I don't know exactly what you call it, but that's a lot of kids in there, and it costs how much, $100 a month for each kid to feed them?
Food, yeah.
Yeah, just for food. And it's kind of crowded, you know, I mean, the kids do really great there, but to have them straightened for 5 months is a long time. And they, I did see pictures of where the older or college kids were teaching classes to the younger ones. And that's the thing that amazed me so much when I was there, was how everyone helped together and really cared about each other. And, you know, the older kids looking after the younger ones and everybody helping. But yeah, so home, when you're saying kids at home, that they're at home base, that's what we're talking about.
Their bedrooms have like 3 big bunk beds and they sleep all in one room like that,
And it's a very small
in
room.
a very small room. Yeah.
6 bunk beds in what we would consider a walk-in closet.
Yeah,
But
but they love it. It's better than the ground.
Yeah, and they're eating 3 meals a day.
This slide depicts when we were there in September of 22 as well. Some of our college students or high school graduates have interviewed for scholarships, and they don't have the skills to do a good interview. And so we conducted a workshop while we were there, led by Tom Pond on the left there, teaching the kids some interviewing techniques and getting them comfortable in talking about themselves, that sort of thing. So that's what we're doing there. In addition to that, we did the health screening and some workshops for the kids on other topics as well. And we have another trip coming up in December. You're welcome all to join us. This is a picture from Kakuma. I think, is this the rock? This is the 60.
Yeah.
Go ahead and
those are the 60 children that we interviewed. Arak and I are both in that picture. I'm wearing that big yellow dress or orange. And there's some of the college, we have 2 of our students there that are going to, that qualified for a Canadian scholarship, which your grades have to be really high for that. And so they're the girl that I'm standing next to. And they all helped us, you know, with the kids and the interviewing, because the kids don't speak English. And Arak speaks Dinka, but I don't. I'm trying to learn, but it's a long haul. So, but those kids were all happy too, you know, that's the thing that really amazes me. The kids are all full of joy, even there and living in the refugee camp.
Is that the native language of South Sudan, Dinka?
Well, that's the Dinka tribe. There's different tribes.
Okay, okay.
South Sudan, 64 tribes that speak different languages. And Dinka is one of the languages. The tribe is also called Dinka, one of the largest tribe in South Sudan, 40% of the population of the country.
What is the security situation now in Sudan and Kenya? Is it safe? Are there rebel guerrillas trying to still overtake the government? What's the situation?
Well, the situation now in both North and South Sudan is not good. There is a fighting going on in Sudan, in North Sudan, and the refugees are coming to South Sudan. South Sudan also have its own issues, kind of a civil war, or you could call it a tribal war, that has been going on in South Sudan. So the situation is not good. In Kenya recently, there has been protests that turn out to be violent about some government policies. So, but Kenya generally has been peaceful for a long, long time, except only during election. Election, you know, they are complicated everywhere like here, and ours are terrible because sometimes people don't vote for you because of your idea. They just vote because you speak the language they speak, or you belong to that tribe. So,
Well, that's a lot like America.
Yeah.
well, America is much better because Americans speak the same language, and yeah, but ours are very complicated, especially when it comes to election. Everybody claim that they won election, and then people start fighting each other. It's not a good situation.
Have tribal wars always happened in that area? Is that the history forever?
Yeah, the history of Sudan has been in war for a long, long time, just because of different ideologies. And, you know, in Sudan, we have mixed Arab tribe, most of them that are Muslim, who have been ruling Sudan for many centuries. There are African. They have been always the agenda of, you know, Islamization, you know, convert everyone to be a Muslim and introduce a Sharia law, which is a Muslim law in the government.
Sharia law.
Yeah, Sharia law. So that has been, and then they also want the land, you know, that's what is that, the civil war. Oil, yeah.
Big time.
So that's why Sudan was divided into 2.
Yeah, we might just clarify. Originally, it was a single country, Sudan, and it was a British colony earlier. And there was a civil war, and in 2011, South Sudan became an independent nation from Sudan. You've heard a lot about Sudan in the news, perhaps. The dictator was overthrown, and then now there's a civil war between 2 army factions, but that's Sudan, not South Sudan, where we're operating. But there is, as Arak said, refugees coming from Sudan in the north-south into South Sudan. But we operate, Arak's group is from southeastern Sudan, right? So quite a ways removed from where those refugees are coming in. But Sudan is very large and has a lot of variety in topography as well as the different tribes. I think there's 60-some ethnic groups.
We've got about 20 minutes left. Could we go ahead and take questions, Iraq? Is that okay?
Yeah, it's okay. We have just have a last video to show, but it's okay. Let's take question now.
Okay. Alan, you had a question.
Yes, you know, the refugees, as you pointed out, they probably come from different tribes, speaking different languages and also religious beliefs. When they come together in the school, is there some type of religious education included? And what is it?
Yes, in the refugee camp, there are many different people that speak different language or belong to different tribe from South Sudan. Also from different countries, and in Kakuma, or in Kenya in general, religion is one of the subject. They call it CRE, Christian Religion Education. It's taught all over from K1 to 8 and then all the way to high school. So religion is a big part of education, which is that they are doing very well in that term, that religion is one of the subjects that is being taught. But it's also difficult for different people from different tribes to get along, especially in the refugee camp, because a lot of misunderstanding, you know. So sometimes there are conflict in the refugee camp, and sometimes the Kenyan don't like the refugees for some reason, the local people. So there has been always issues around the camp.
Is it mainly Muslim and Christian
No,
opposition or many different religions?
mostly the refugees, there are people from Somalia that are Muslim, but most of the refugees are Christian.
Okay.
So sometimes there is a little bit of that, but not much. The big thing is about, you know, speaking different language,
Speaking
come from different
languages.
countries, or, yeah.
Isn't it also status? Like, they don't like refugees, the Kenyans don't. Isn't that kind of what you were saying?
Well, they don't let you work there.
Well, I was gonna,
Yeah.
I was, going.
So the refugees are not allowed to work by the Kenyan government. So the Kenyan government claim that they have millions of people who are jobless.
Jobless.
Jobless. Huh? Okay. Okay, we want to let you get through your slides too. I don't want to cut you off.
I might mention that the Kenyan relationship to the South Sudanese, as Iraq alluded to, but a number of our students have talked about how supportive the Kenyan teachers are in helping them to learn English and Kiswahili. So they speak very highly of many of their teachers. As I mentioned earlier, we do have a trip planned in December, early December, so we'll be back before Christmas. And anyone who wants to go is welcome to join us. We'll be there about a week to 10 days. I think Sue Counterman, one of our board members, is organizing that, so you can see any of us afterwards if you're interested.
Can we talk about the leader?
Oh, yes.
It was on the slide before, but I'm just so proud of this one student. He's graduating in December. That's partly why we changed the trip, so we could attend his graduation, and he's graduating with a medical degree. And this is a child from a refugee camp that you imagine if you just left him there, what his life would be like now. And now he's going to be able to touch thousands of other lives. And then we have another one that's graduating with a master's in finance, I believe, at the same time. So that's, to me, such a spotlight into what the difference you make in a child's life, you know. And so when it says you can make a difference, so yeah, to sponsor a child, it's $150 a month. And that gives them quite a bit, as I think Jill already mentioned earlier. They have education, boarding, room and board, food, and it's not really that, to me, when I sponsor 4 boys, and when I, thought about it, I thought, you know, what can I use $150 a month for that I wouldn't want to rather give to these kids, you know? And then also we need, if you're not ready to commit to, you know, something like that, we just need regular donations for our general fund, because a lot of our students are halfway sponsored, so that means we have to pay for the rest of it out of our general fund, which is, we had a big, long board meeting yesterday, and we're told how it's dwindling and we need to, you know, beef it up. That's not my part, but anyway, and it also helps for surprise expenses, because sometimes, you know, I don't think the kids have insurance, do they? So that if something happens medically, like I know one girl, I think she was hit by a motorcycle or fell off, you know, they need emergency service, and that's a bill we're not prepared for. So again, if you're not, we have commitment cards out there, or pledge cards, if you, I don't know what you want to call them, but anyway, yes, this lady here has it. And if you just want to commit to a certain amount a month, that way we can kind of, you know, add to that.
Or
And-
even a one-time.
Oh, yes, one-time donations or anything, whatever, any way that you want to, you know.
We are going to pass around a basket for collection today too at the end of class.
Thank
So-
you.
And I just want to, oh, sorry, I just want to thank everyone, because I'm looking at your faces. Sorry, now I'm gonna cry, but I see how it's affecting you. You know, and it's very nice to see your attention and your interest.
We will take a short video. It's about 3 minutes long. We have heard a rock story, but some of the students also have very compelling stories about the time they spent in Kakuma and their journey in becoming students with Seeds of South Sudan. We'll show that short video, and then we have time for more questions.
Our Zoomers will not be able to see this because we're needing to use 2 laptops today. I'm sorry about that, Zoomers, but hopefully you'll be able to hear it.
Can you turn the computer that way?
No, because we're working on an OWL device.
Okay,
It's-
sorry.
Sorry, too technical.
Well, it's not him.
Well, my name is Yad Deng Mayen. Life in South Sudan was fine. I was so young until when war broke out. That's when I lost my parents, and people had to migrate to a place which is safer. That's when I grew as a young child in Kaguma. I didn't know much about life, and as I grew up, I came to open my eyes and see how miserable life was. People eat once per day, and that is only in the evening. The adults will starve, and others died of illness. The illness was like hell. You could see someone dying next beside you, but there's nothing you can do about it. That is when I heard of a man called Arok Garang. And I overheard people saying, there's this man who is here to help the needy. And I was like, oh, so God hears. And Seeds of South Sudan continued funding our lives for our schooling, staying at home, all our basic needs. And we joined Roots Academy. When I joined school, I was so eager to learn. I was very curious, and I became very sharp to learn English and speak at the same time. I sit down and start asking myself, why if not for Seeds of South Sudan? Where will I be? Who knows? I will be gone because of hunger. I will be gone because of diseases. I am very grateful for every sponsor, every board of management of Seeds of South Sudan member, everyone, all the students, I am grateful. God will bless the work of your hands. Just want to say thank you.
We don't want it on repeat.
Well,
Well, thank you so much for listening to us. And the mission of Seed of South Sudan, we are very thankful. And like I have mentioned, God gave me a life for a purpose. I didn't know what it is until I came here. And, seeing this kid working very hard to go back and help the country of South Sudan is a blessing to me. So please feel free now to ask any question. Yeah.
Tell us about your family. You say you have 7 children. Are they there or here or?
Very good question. My family live in Kenya. I came back in May. I used to be here for a year, sometime a year and a half or even 2, and then go back for 2 months. But now I am back in Kenya. I live there most of the time. I come back in the summer when I get opportunity. So my family has always been there in Kenya.
And is that where you're studying your master's degree?
Yes, that's where I'm going to school now, doing MA in Biblical Studies.
And you hope to have a church there in Kenya or South Sudan?
I hope to build a church in South school, church and clinic in South Sudan. That's my long-term goal.
Good. Great. More questions?
Steve, I have a question.
Susan
Hi.
on Zoom.
So
Go
I'm a
ahead.
little unclear about the path. So we have the kids in the Kakuma refugee camp. So question 1, like how are they selected? And then what's the difference between the 2 Seeds High School and the Roots Academy? What's the relationship there?
What was your first question, Susan? Go back to that.
The kids are in the Kakuma refugee camp. How are they selected to go to either 2 Seeds High School or Roots Academy? And what's the difference between 2 Seeds and Roots Academy?
How do they get selected out of Cocoon
Yeah.
first?
Yeah, number one, they have to be orphan. That's what we consider. They don't have anybody supporting them. They also have a potential, they have a hoping to learn and want to be a leader and give back to the community. So those are the ones that we considered. The difference between Root Academy and high school, Root Academy is usually from K to grade 8. And then you go to high school, which is 4 years. They use the British kind of education in Kenya, or a British system. And 96% of the school in Kenya are boarding school. So that
96% of the schools are boarding schools.
yes. So from grade 1 to from K to grade 8, mostly they have like a mix, for a little kid that cannot go to boarding school. But for 9 years old above, most of the time they are in boarding school. And when they go to high school, now they are separated. There are boy high school, there are girl high school.
Oh.
And you are chosen based on your grade. Mostly the Kenyan kind of education selected a student to go to one they call them government school, which are the top school. And then the rest will go to provincial school, district school. So, but to make sure in high school that the children are separated. Yeah.
As far as being selected to get out of the camp, there are leaders within the camp, there are chieftains who know they know the students, and they highly recommend to Iraq. Then Iraq and his team comes in and interviews, like, Eileen was saying, they interviewed those 40 children. 60 children, who all want to come out, but they, of course, we don't have enough for 60 children, so the ones that are highest among that group get selected.
Very good. Thank you, Jill. That's very important piece. We have leaders in the camp, elders who take care of these orphans, and they are the one that shoot them. And we have to go in and interview them. Thank you.
And then they go to the Two Seeds High School?
I don't know.
Okay.
There's
Not
gotta
sure
be-
what you mean, two seeds. Seeds of Sudan
South
is,
Sudan.
South Sudan is Iraq's foundation.
Right, okay, so I thought I saw on one of the slides, Two Seeds High School, so that's why I was confused, like, when they're selected to go to school, then do they go to the Roots Academy?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, got it, all right, thanks.
Donations to his foundation support the kids that go to the Roots Academy.
And to high school. When they're not in school, they are at home base, which is the Seeds of South Sudan home base.
Yeah, they own that building.
Yeah.
Or we.
Mary,
I'm interested in the funds that people are offering today. For you, to whom or to where will that go?
where will the money that we give today go? To your general fund? Or
Or to
Yes, I can.
to Iraq's Seeds of South Sudan Foundation General Fund?
That's the answer.
Yes.
What
Mary.
is the future of the students who are not chosen to go to school?
Yeah, what happens to the rest of the kids? What's their life like?
Good question.
Well, that is a very difficult question, because, if you live in a refugee camp, you are like in a jail, you hope that thing will get better in your country, and then you go back. So it is hard to tell exactly what their future would be. The kid in the refugee camp hope to go to school, but most of the time they don't get that opportunity, and life is hard in a refugee camp. Sometimes the United Nations talk to US government, Canadian, Australia. Sometimes some refugees get opportunities like a lottery. The Lost Boy were a big group that were given opportunity to come to, that was a special program. So, but everybody in the refugee camp, hope for things to get better back in their country, to go back, because you are just there, you are not working, they just give you a little bit to survive. And so there is no hope at all there. And who knows, it's God who knows what time this wars will get over.
We just have a couple minutes left. More questions? I have kind of a related question, Iraq. We sometimes hear that the American Oprah Winfrey has a school for girls in Kenya, I
Yes, she
think.
does.
Is it Kenya? Do you hear about that? And does it have hundreds of girls there? What do you think of that? Is that a good thing that she's doing?
Well, she's doing a great thing. I don't know the number of girls. I heard about the school. I have not been there. But I also heard that she ran a school also like that in South Africa. And that is an opportunity for young girls who sometimes end up, getting married while they are very young. Well, because of life difficulties, and sometimes children who love their parents, with aid and things like that. And so that is a good opportunity for a young girl to have something to do and to have a purpose in life. So I think she is targeting young ladies who are always affected by family circumstances and things like it, it has killed many people in South Africa, and I think that was why she chose South Africa, now in Kenya. So that's a very wonderful thing.
Very good. We're about out of time. Any more questions? Talk to Rock afterwards. We raised $475 this morning. Thank
It's
you.
one more out. You got enough to get the rest of the time around, so it's great.
Good.
Also, we have tables outside set up with information and bags and placemats, different little things that you can buy if you like, so.
Great. Okay. Well,
Thank you.
I want to do just a quick prayer to thank Iraq and ask for God's blessing on all that you do and on your family. So thank you, Iraq, and thank you, God, for your many blessings in this challenging work. Amen. Thank you all for coming today. We'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.